1-0, and Cam's back. So I don't know which one's better, but I know for me personally which one's better. But for all of you, good thing you don't have to choose. You get them both. So the Canes coming off that demolition of Bethune-Cookman, and Mr. Cam Underwood, State of the U, gracing us once again. Cam, good to see you. Great to have you back.
Man, good to be back. Good to be seen. Good to be heard, and everything. So I know it's been a month, 5 weeks, give or take. But yeah, so just a quick recap. If everybody didn't know, I had an issue with my voice. I'm still working through it. I'm doing voice therapy, speech therapy, and also vocal, like singing therapy, just to re-coordinate everything. So that's why I was gone and everything. But it was pretty much the best case scenario for all of the options and everything. I know I was asking for your thoughts and prayers, and I appreciate everybody who sent those out for me and everything. But I've been doing the work kind of behind the scenes, and I felt, okay. And, got the green light from my my speech therapist today. The other day too, just to really be sure that everything was where it needs to be. And so it is. And here we are. So welcome back.
Well, I got to say, Cam, it is great to have you back. You were sorely missed. We just had nothing without you. I
appreciate that, guys. I
had nothing
really
without you. And there was this strange irony once you let me know that it was voice connected, and I just that's almost like, I don't know, Tom Brady broke his right arm, or an Olympic sprinter injured their hip or something like that. It's just the first connection I have to you in regards to what I think of in addition to your passion and your football knowledge and all those things is obviously your ability with your voice. So
I mean, you're not the only one, man. It was, a lot of, I was reaching out to a lot of different people and everything, and I, went out and, it was a issue to even make an appointment with the ENT because I had to have a friend who doesn't even live here. He's a singer. We both went to Miami together. His wife went to the University of Miami Med School and is an ear, nose, and throat doctor now. And so I reached out to him and was like, hey, can you or Sandra do this for me? And I'll just send you everything over text because I was on vocal rest for 17 days. I didn't speak at all, So yeah, it was an interesting journey, but we're still just taking a small step every day to get back and everything and whatnot. But yeah, it feels good. I finally got the clearance to sing today. Oh man. I've been waiting, because that's an extended vocal usage. So, I was waiting till I got the green light, but I just finally got the green light from my therapist today. So excited.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we're going to talk some football. And of course, this is the first football we've had the pleasure of talking about for quite some time. And it was 70 on the board for the Canes against Bethune-Cookman. So on one hand, it's also sometimes difficult to take from these type of games, but the guys were on the field, they were hitting each other. So there has to be something to be gained from that. So again, 70 and 42 of those in the first half. Your initial thoughts?
Honestly, it was just good to be back on the field. It was good to see operationally what the goal or what the paradigm of this staff, of this organization of Canes football in this iteration is, or is going to be. Mario Cristobal wants to be physical. So yeah, we ran the ball and we leaned on Bethune-Cookman as we should, and we're really successful in that and really didn't stretch the field vertically at all. And that's okay. We did have, I think the longest throw was that flood route, multi-level, pass route that Van Dyke threw from the left hash. I think it ended up being probably about a 40-yard throw because it was caught at 15 yards. But the hypotenuse of the triangle, go over and up and everything. It was a long throw, and then Xavier Restrepo, he caught that and then he turned it up the sideline there. I think that was the longest play from scrimmage. We did have a very long kick return by my guy, K5, Keyshawn Smith, doing really, really great things there. It was 52 yards on the catch and run. That was the longest play of the day from scrimmage. But it wasn't I stopped and I threw it 52 yards down the field. You know what I mean? So I really want to see eventually when we need to or feel like opening up the playbook, what does the vertical pass game look like? Because Rhett Lashley had this synergy with Tyler Van Dyke, and he dialed everything up. He was like, hey, I know you can do this. And he dialed up all kinds of great stuff. I just want to see Josh Gaddis be able to do that when we need to. And we definitely did not. But defense was physical. There were still a couple issues on some angles, a couple issues on some tackling, a couple issues with, guys are good, but maybe not the most athletic. There's a couple players, I'm not going to name them because the fan base has been on Twitter just, berating these guys. I'm like, they actually, like, he played, well, no, I'll say it because, it's part of the context. Corey Flagg is not the most fleet of foot, but he played a really strong game. He led this team. He was, calling the signals and things like that. He played really well. But when he's put in space and the thing he needs to do is be athletic and physical to go get somebody, he's not swift of foot. He's not. So that's going to be an issue. Now, hopefully you're going to scheme and not put him in those situations. But if somebody misses a tackle and he can still track it back, and, and also there were some errors in coverage. So it wasn't perfect, but every drive but one ended in a touchdown. There was a fumble because the starting center, Ja'Kai Clark, went out. Jonathan Dennis, South Dade Senior High School, went to Oregon, came back, obviously. Like Logan Sagapolu, he's not from South Florida, but, same kind of a thing. Was at Oregon and followed coaches down here. Jonathan Dennis comes in as backup center, but the difference there is Jonathan Dennis is left-handed or snaps left-handed versus right-handed. So it's just a little disconnect there, and that's how the ball got put on the ground. Other than that, every single drive ended in the end zone, other than the final drive, which was just run the ball, just get Ja'Cory Brown on the field and say, hey, you took snaps during a live varsity, football game in college and keep it moving. But, incredibly efficient, did not miss a third down conversion all day long. As I have the stats up in front of me, I like to leave the stats page open. I believe that was 7 for 7 on third downs, 8.5 or almost 9 yards per play from scrimmage, 582 total yards. You get a pick six, you get 3 interceptions, you get 184 yards of kick returns on 3 returns by Keyshawn Smith, showing the kind of explosion that we have not seen in the return game in a long, long time. There was a lot to like. Tyler Van Dyke, the first pass of the day, I think was broken up incomplete towards Will Mallory. Other than that, there were 2 throwaways because of coverage and pressure. Other than that, he hit every throw, so he only had 3 incompletions. 1 was a breakup, 2 were throwaways, and Jake Garcia comes in and goes 8 for 8 and shows really good ability, the ability to move in pocket and around to create space and things like that. So it was just it was good to be back. It was good to see lots of friends in the tailgate. It was good to just hang out and everything. It was hot, boy. Woo, that 3:30 kickoff. I forgot that tailgate means like noontime in South Florida heat, and it was hot, boy. But yeah, it was really good. Got a lot of guys game experience, even if there's a couple plays here and there and things. You see guys making plays, guys empowered to make plays, like a Gilbert Frierson who was in and out of the doghouse with Manny Diaz. This coaching staff said, hey, man, go make plays. And that's exactly what he did. James Williams moving all over the place. I know people are probably asked about that. I don't know if it's the star or striker or whatever, but it's hard to miss a guy who's 6'5", 235 walking down into the box from center field on third downs. So then you have Cam Kinchins, who also had an interception, Avante Williams on the field, and James Williams walking down into the box. So if you want to have him be a spy or anything, so you start to see the different ways that this team is asked to operate and how they're doing things. And it's really great just to be back on the field, really great to see those kind of things. And hopefully, it'll continue. But those are the small victories, that we can glean from this week's game. And hopefully we just kind of continue to tighten up the operations and continue to move forward.
Falcon Rex, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Appreciate that. Third Degree 7. The show is the main event. Thanks for always putting on a great show.
Blue Phi?
Appreciate you.
I'm not a member. I was just saying the thing for you. Sigma Phi Beta. Go ahead.
Well, let's get to individual players who are new to the roster.
Okay.
Who stands out as okay, whether it's a transfer portal guy. I'm going to think Henry Parrish, 3 touchdowns, 108 yards. or an incoming freshman that we got to see?
His name just escaped me. Defensive end, West Virginia, Akeem Mesidor. Sorry, there we go. Was probably the best player on the field on Saturday. So, he's comes in and he starts at defensive end. And he's just doing everything. He's wreaking havoc. He's getting upfield. He's making plays. Henry Parrish obviously got the start at running back and the majority of the carries. Thad Franklin finally growing up as a running back, instead of running all high and everything, he's, get some lean running behind his pads. And that's a big boy. I mean, I don't know what he's listed at on the roster, but he's 6'1", 245. He's darn near AJ Dillon size, that's a big dude coming through that line. And that's a lot to deal with. So, he was a guy who stood out as improved. Keyshawn Smith, in terms of the return game, did not have a catch on the day. Did Keyshawn Smith, was he targeted? I don't think he was targeted even from the stat sheet, but but he was really, really explosive in the return game. So those were the guys who really, started or improved. Caleb Johnson, when he came in at linebacker, that was his athleticism just pops off the field, even just watching it, from the stadium in the press box live. And it's especially more because Flag and Steed really, but the linebackers who played in front of him are not that fast, fleet of foot. They're not that speedy. So when 40 came in and he, it pops even more. And, you need a variety of defenders. So, and we played a lot of guys so we can see what their, value is going to be. So, those guys, Daryl Porter Jr. in the secondary didn't really have a great impact on the stat sheet, but every time I looked up, 5 was, and I was like, who is 5 on defense now? Because I'm thinking Amari Carter, because he was here for 17 years and everything. But I'm like, no, that's not Amari Carter. But I'm like, 5 is there assisting with the tackle, or 5 is over there, flowing to the ball, or 5 is over there, sliding through, a pass window and just deterring the quarterback from throwing it there. And every time I said, let me make sure. And that's Daryl Porter Jr., also from West Virginia. So, he was another guy who was new to the roster that, seemed to have a positive impact, on the game and everything. And, shout out to Leonard Taylor, starting defensive tackle, 5-star recruit and everything. So he's, just doing the thing, just like James Williams. When you get those 5 stars, you're going to play those 5 stars, and those 5 stars are worthy of being played. So, I think that those were the guys really who stood out to me as the newbies. Inez Cooper, also on offensive line, has been getting rave reviews. He's one of the last guys to commit in this class from Alabama's massive mountain of a dude, like 6'6", 350. But is the clear number 2 right tackle, and everybody around the program is like, this is the steal of all steals in recruiting. This dude is massive and mean, and he's going to be really, really good to the point where he's already on the 2 deep, and he's going to fight for playing time. So, yeah, Rob Duke's good to be back. Caleb Johnson maybe looking lost a little bit. Yeah, he's learning a new scheme and everything, but to Chris Mitchell's point, you can be a little lost when you can run like that. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't understand everything, but I can go. If I see the ball, I can just go, pick him up, put him down, things like that. So, yeah, but the added athleticism at a position, I've been harping about athleticism at linebacker for I don't know how long, but seeing that pop on the field, you really love to see that. And, you have a lot more guys to move in there, a lot of more, tools in the toolbox, toys in the toy box, whatever you want to call it. But, a variety of players that you can put in there to do a variety of different things. That just opens up the multiplicity of scheme that you can employ both on offense and on defense.
So with Parrish getting the 14 carries and Franklin the 9, do you think that's indicative as the team steps up a level in competition this week and then a massive level of competition the next week of what we're going to see going forward?
No, it's going to rebalance because Jalen Knighton had a soft tissue injury. He warmed up in full pads, but he didn't play. So when Jalen Knighton comes in, he's a guy who's going to be at the top of that rotation, with Parrish splitting some. So those are probably going to come from, from Franklin's carries. So, and I mean, it's going to be touches for Knighton because, you can throw him the ball. You saw it last year. You scheme him up one-on-one. Well, I mean, both years he's been here. You scheme him up. That's one of the fastest guys on the team. So, he makes a guy miss and he's still running. Ask North Carolina. They tried to solo up a defensive back on him and he hit him with a little shake, put that foot in the ground, and then he's, up the sideline, outrunning angles. So it's going to be, a group by committee, but I think the running backs, we can definitely go to the hot hand. So Knighton's going to come back. Obviously, you saw Parrish, and he started or played at the top, near the top of the rotation at Ole Miss for a couple of years. Thad Franklin, you need short yardage. Bring in that massive dude. Unfortunately, I believe Trevante Citizen's out for the year from all of the chatter. I mean, Mark Cristobal is taking full advantage of Miami being a private school. So he's like, cool. I'm not going to release a depth chart except for like in the press box on game day. We're not going to release or talk about suspensions because we don't have to. We're not going to talk about injuries because we don't have to. Because there's no like Freedom of Information Act because it's a private institution. Like we don't have to, so we won't. Kind of a thing. So it's everybody really it's a different kind of way to find some of those things out. But from what he was talking about with Don Chaney being out for like 4 to 6 weeks, and he's like, oh yeah, but Trevante Citizens was much more severe of an injury. Yeah, probably not going to see him. But then you do get Lucius Stanley, who played at UAB, to transfer over, and then you have 46. I keep forgetting that kid's name, but he was an FCS player. I found out when I looked on the roster. I'm going to have to look it up to give this guy's name. Miami Hurricanes football roster. Click, 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 click. It's not him. Hold on.
Devin Perry?
Yes, Devon Perry. There we go.
Perry.
Yeah, but he played at the FCS level. So I thought when he didn't, showed pretty well at the spring game, I thought he was like a walk-on. Like there was a kid who lived on my floor freshman or sophomore year, 2000 or 2001. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to go try out for the baseball team. We'll see what happens, blah, blah, blah. Come to find out that he was just like really, really good, but he was homeschooled or something. So he ends up going and he ended up starting in right field for a team that went to the College World Series. His name was Brian Barton, I believe it was. And he ends up getting drafted and everything. We're like, yeah, this kid was just like, okay, whatever, like, I'm 6'2", kind of, twist, blow out hair, whatever. And, I'm just going to go try for baseball. And like hit like third or fourth and gets drafted. Like, and I thought that Devon Perry was like that, where he was just some dude off the street. Like, I got off of the Metro Rail stop and I was walking up Santa Maria Drive and I looked over and I was like, there's the Hecht Athletic Center. Let me go try. That's not what it was. This is a dude who was maybe not recruited coming out of high school, but played at the FCS level. So that kind of and I mean, like I'm not saying that I want him to start. I'm not saying that he needs to get, fourth quarter carries in a 2-point game against Alabama in a championship game, but that raises the level in the running back room, even without Donald Chaney Jr. and without Trevante Citizen. By having a guy who played at the FCS level and having a guy who played at UAB, both of those being walk-ons here behind the 3 healthy scholarship backs that we have. So I think it's really going to be Knighton and Parrish, 1A, 1B, sprinkle in some Franklin, and then hopefully we get the passing game going. And if we win, and we're blowing teams out, then you can have Stanley and Perry coming in off the bench who are better than your average walk-on, trust and believe.
Are these valid concerns coming in from Troy, coming in from Falcon or Axe? We struggled holding the edge on defense, and also with the lack of defensive containment, a scheme or over pursuit coaching issue?
I mean, first of all, are those valid concerns? Yes. And it's a thing where Bethune has very athletic quarterbacks. One of them played D1 before he transferred down there to FCS. Oh, so excuse me, FBS level before he goes to the FCS level. Containing a running quarterback is clearly where this team needed some work. Setting the edge, being disciplined with the pass rush. Man, oh, gee willikers, that's the second time I did that today. Mario Cristobal even said that at his presser today, talking about the discipline level during pass rush, not getting out of lanes, not being, just not rushing in a vacuum. So irrespective of anything that's going on the field, like, hey, I want to do this pass rush move, go. And it's like, but like if you looked or stopped or, put a counter on that, if you have a counter or something, like you could have affected the play. But it's like, no, I decided I was going to use move number 5 and I'm doing move number 5, regardless of what they do and whatever happens in the play, I'm still doing move number 5. I'm not paying attention. I'm just going. And that kind of a thing was an issue. So yeah, you need to be disciplined. Don't rush past the quarterback. Stop at the level of where they are. Obviously, if they're a right-handed quarterback, you want to force them left, to run so that they're going opposite of their dominant hand side. So it makes it harder for them to throw the ball if they want. Things like that. There are things to work on. And these are some of the concerns that are hopefully being addressed, even though Mario Cristobal did say today that the team needs to be better at practice. They need to really focus more. They need to get more out of practice to get to where we want to be. So all the things that you're bringing up are valid concerns. And we all saw it. Coaches, players as well have mentioned it. It's now incumbent upon them to do the work to elevate those areas of scheme and performance. And if the players are not able to do that, then change the players.
The Miami defense is looking at a situation, if I'm reading the game 1 Southern Miss performance correctly, and it's kind of hard to miss not having seen one play, but just looking at the box score, that we're looking at a team in Southern Miss that it's been a pretty bad football program here for the last several seasons. And I always think of Southern Miss as being a really good football program because it was in the 80s and 90s, but they've been down for quite a while. I think 3-9 was the record last year, I believe.
Yeah.
But Frank Gore Jr. is the running back, 178 yards, 5.6 per carry on 32 carries, couple touchdowns. The rushing attack as a whole ran the football 54 times. They only threw it 13 in a 29-27 4 overtime game against Liberty. So they are a running team, put it up 13 times in a 4 overtime game. Now, overtime's not being what they were, of course, before, where you had to play a complete drive from the 25-yard line, but still 5 of 13 through the air. So the defensive backs, at least from a pass standpoint, may get the week off.
Yeah, and the other part of that, of the 14 passes that were thrown, 5 of them were thrown by running backs, 1 by Antavius Willis and 4 by the aforementioned Frank Gore Jr. Right. So there's a lot of single wing. Sorry, my nose is running. Sorry, but there's a lot of single wing. There's a lot of, high school kind of give the ball to the best guy as quarter, like have him touch the ball first on the play and go from there kind of a thing. And so, yeah, it's going to be incumbent upon Miami's front 7 to really be disciplined against the rush, because that's what they're going to do clearly by demonstrated performance in game 1. But then the defensive backs can't take time off either. Like Bethune-Cookman wasn't really great, or anything, but they threw the ball with a little bit of success, and they threw a wrinkle in there. They run mesh, the crossing routes across the middle. You wait, somebody gets picked and you throw them. And, that was the Tutu Atwell touchdown play when they played here. If you remember that, crossers, you hit them, and there's always, like a release valve, check down, the running back, flat. But there's the well-known wrinkle that you go mesh wheel, and that running back, instead of going to the flat, you take it to the flat and you turn it up. And Keontre Smith went to the flat. He was looking for that ball. He was like, Gilbert ain't the only one who's getting a pick 6. I'm about to take this to the crib. Like, we're about to celebrate down there in the corner of the, the east end zone, again, right in front of, MIAO's field club seats. We're about to be over there. But that running back did what? That wheel. And you see Keontre, he comes up and he's literally like, oh, shoot, darn it. Because you can still get one wrinkle. And it was funny, at that very time, I was debating with somebody in the press box about Bethune not scoring a touchdown during the game. So they're, man, yeah. And then they hit it. He goes, and I'm like, so they had literally a perfect play call against the perfect defense to make them score. And that actually came true. And if you're banking on that, hey, fine, go, stand out in the ocean and wait to get hit by a lightning, go play the money ball or whatever to win billions of dollars. But fine. But I say that to say that on any given play, if you're not dialed in and you just think, oh, this is an inferior team and I've seen them run this and I've seen them run this and I've seen them run this, and you think that there is no wrinkle or counter or secondary option, you already saw it last week. What happened? Bethune goes, hits you over the top with a wheel route for a touchdown. So, everybody really needs to be in there. But, it's going to really start with the run defense, and just that front four really dominating up front and making life tough for whoever's in the backfield, quarterback, running back, whatever, but that's really where it's going to start from. And then, this is a thing where I've been talking about for years, that Miami needs to do what Miami needs to do and be concerned about that and nothing else. Because if you play to the standard level, it should matter not who's on the other side. And this is a game, just like last week, where we are implementing what is the standard level of performance that we need to hit as the Miami Hurricanes. And then if we do that on offense, defense, special teams, all the way around, we'll be successful. So, remove the concern for the other team. I mean, obviously, respect all opponents, but fear none. But do what we need to do in the context of the game, and we'll be all right.
Because just to finish the point about the run-pass ratio for this team, 13 pass attempts, ran at 54, 13 pass attempts. They completed 5, and they threw 3 to the other guys. Yeah. That's not real effective.
I mean, but that's a 4-to-1 run-to-pass, ratio on offense. So, because 52 is 13 times 3, 30, so just over 4-to-1. Yep. So out of every 5 snaps, they're going to run the ball 4 times or attempt to, and I think maybe they'll early on try to dial up something a little bit different to try to say, okay, well, we don't want to get blown out and we want to, try something and, hit a haymaker. I'm coming in against, Mike Tyson. I'm throwing haymaker. I'm throwing uppercuts because I'm trying, look, because Mike Tyson going to probably hit me and knock me out, but I'm going to try just to go for broke, swing for the hills from my, and try to get one. And they're probably going to try something like that. But again, if Miami studies the film, if Miami pays attention to the coaching and does what they need to do, we should be all right.
They do that, or they play close to the vest and try to get you into a game where, like you're saying, if your defensive front, Miami's defensive front, doesn't dominate and USM's able to string together some plays and run their offense and get, 3, then 6, then 4, then 7, then you get into a game where, before you know it, your offense has only had the ball maybe for a second time, and you're like 8 minutes deep into the second quarter, and it's a 6-3 game, and they just kind of try to suppress the whole action. Now, in no way do I think Miami gets challenged in this game, but it could be one of those lazy first halves if they're able to play their game to perfection.
Right. I mean, I hope not. I hope that we come out, again and, do what we need to do. And, I would even be amenable to opening up the pass game off the top, a little bit more than we saw this past week. And I get, it was pretty much a preseason scrimmage and everything. And, absent the quarterback running around because running with their legs, then running around and then just finding somebody open because you can't play coverage for 5 and 6 seconds. That was really, damaging in terms of being able to move up the field. I mean, we were never going to lose to Bethune, but you know what I mean? So,
this question by Daryl, if you don't mind if I give my angle on this one first.
Sure.
This is what I always think when there is such a disparity in talent. And this is one of the reasons why, I pick the games straight up and against the spread. And when I track it, I am so much better picking any games below like a 3 touchdown spread. Everything over 3 touchdowns. 9 out of 10 of those games are going to be exactly what was expected. Blowout, 5, 6 touchdown games. Well, number one, you don't even know who's going to be on the field in the fourth quarter of that kind of game. When it's 49-7, one coach may have, we're still working on some things. So, hey, our starting offensive line's still in there, and while others, empty the benches and they get the 3rd and 4th stringers in there. Number two, yeah, you don't know how the coach is going to be calling the game. Some coaches, we're still running our offense. We're still doing it. Some of them just completely pack it in. Let's get on the bus, run it, run off tackle, off tackle, off tackle. And number three, you don't know how hard the players on the field will be playing. And I say that in the obvious sense that the Alabamas and Georgias of the world will be going through the motions maybe in the last 5 minutes. But then again, maybe not, because they know what Saban's going to, he's going to bring the fire if they do. But then also, when you've got the said Georgia Clemson type team and they empty the bench, well, their third stringers are more talented than even the first stringers on the other team. So, and those guys finally get to play. So they may ball out because they're like, okay, I only get to play a couple times a year. So, man, give me those 10 or 11 carries. I want to go for 100 yards.
I mean, I've said this on this very show before, but, freshman Frank Gore had like 4 carries for 134 and 2 touchdowns in the game. Just because, they ran, dive, like a ISO play up the middle, but like he's Frank Gore. He shook a dude, and he was, that was back before he tore his ACLs and everything, and he just passed everybody, and like Daryl, as you have, the national championship banner as your avatar there and everything, like that's a thing that Miami did, like during those years that are displayed right there in your avatar, man. So I don't think it would have been. I don't question the effort. I question what I'm questioning, but I, have a comment or need to work on the performance, in some ways. But like I don't question the effort. I didn't see anybody loafing. When I watched Georgia Tech Clemson, I saw offensive lineman number 72. I have no idea what his name is, but clear as day, they ran a couple of screens and caught Clemson, because Clemson, hey, their hair's on fire. We're pinning back. We're getting up the field from that front four, which is incredible, by the way. And so they said, okay, cool, fine. We're going to let you and hit you with the screen, which is a thing that you do against penetrating defenses or defensive lines that are really hard for you to block. And 72 was out there just chilling on a Sunday stroll. And the running back, like, they didn't gain anywhere near the yardage they could have, because he was out there. And from what I saw, unless he's injured or something else, I did not see the kind of effort from that gentleman that you need to see. I literally tweeted it. It was 67 also on the second one. It was at 67, 72. Y'all got to go. You got to run. You got to find the work. Like on the screen, I can't just be like head on a swivel. I see this linebacker coming from in here. I see this safety coming down there. Where do I want to go? I want to find the hash marks, and I want to go up there and, go all the way down to the end zone. But clearly not that fleet of foot, not a skilled player. So I'm going to find somebody to block. So that means, you right there, that's going to be the guy. Go find that work. And I did not see that from that guy. But looking at the Miami game, I didn't see anybody who was not giving effort. I'll go back to one of my, previous statements. I did see some guys who were not fast enough to make the play that was there to be made as the play developed. You know what I mean? So like if you have, again, a Corey Flagg, we know Corey Flagg led the team in tackles. He, played middle linebacker. He got everybody lined up. He was quarterback in that defense. He played a really good game, but there were a couple of times where it was like he needed to get on his horse and go giddy up and go get somebody using, superior foot speed. And he simply doesn't have it. Right. And that's not an effort thing. It's not, and that's where, to me, I don't necessarily see that as an effort thing. That's maybe just a physical limitation, or, like with the defensive line being undisciplined with the pass rush. That wasn't for lack of trying. They tried something, but they didn't follow alignment assignment technique in the proper way. And so their performance didn't meet the standard. So for me, that's where I go with it. But I mean, if you want to have that talk, about, quitting or not playing hard or things like that, we would need to see much worse performance before we get there, right? Remember North Carolina a couple years ago ran for 973 yards and 22 touchdowns? That was, and you saw that I can think of the first play when Michael Carter ran over Bubba Bolden, and Amari Carter's loafing on that one, DJ Ivy's loafing on that one. The one going up the North Carolina sideline there, that long run on counter. It's in my head right now. It's in your head right now. You can look at that play. You can pull it up on YouTube right now and be like, oh, him. They were not trying hard. You could see they're just loafing or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I was on the treadmill earlier today, at 3.4 miles an hour or something like that. Hey, fine for me because I was on there for 45 minutes. But if you're trying to go tackle somebody, right, that's not good enough. But it would need to see that kind of performance or a way worse performance from the Hurricanes for me at this point to say that they're not trying.
To Burley Kane's point here, he's wondering if the toughness level exists inherently on this roster and can be extracted from the roster, or does Mario need to continue to recruit that toughness level?
Both. I think that you're going to see this team is, I think that we already saw in the opener that this team is more mentally tough and more physically tough as well, just from the way that they leaned on Bethune. Because, in previous years, when we played HBCU teams, the run game didn't look like that, right? And I think we can all agree on that. Go back and rewatch the game. Go back and, look at the stat pages and things like that. Look, yeah. And stand on business. BC was easily breaking contained. Right. We were not being disciplined. We did not have the performance we needed. That was not for lack of trying. That's the thing that everybody, players and coaches have talked about needing to improve the performance. I agree, right? But I think that, in terms of the toughness of being built to play the way that Cristobal wants to play, I think that we're there. I just think that this is version 1.0. This is not peak optimum operation. You know what I mean? This is the first iteration going towards what you hope is the utopian build of having every position stocked with the kind of talent that you look for and need and want as a coaching staff and as a team and a program all over the field, 2 and 3 deep, right? So we are on that path. We are setting the foundation, giving the blueprint, the framework for this is what it's going to be. This is what we need it to be. And we plugged in some of these guys from the transfer portal to help it get there. But you're going to see next year is going to be version 2.0, and then in a couple of years it's going to be 3.0, and hopefully with the transfers and recruiting from the high school ranks, you're going to see that this gets more into the bones, into the DNA of this program. So we're kind of surface level with it right now, but over time it's going to deepen and strengthen even further, hopefully. Yeah.
To answer your question, Falcon or Axonless, Cam corrects me on this one. The reason Miami's playing Clemson, first of all, they're not playing Clemson 2 years in a row. That was the COVID year, 2020. They went to Death Valley, and now they're playing here in 2022. So that's not 2 in a row. You almost have to take the 2020 season, throw it out, because all the scheduling format and patterns were thrown out. They just built an ACC schedule that was 2 more games for one thing than a standard 8-game season. It was a 10-game ACC schedule, and they just built a schedule for that year.
And that was just, again, remember, football, all sports are television shows. And they said, look, we're going to, program the best television that we can get. Got Derek King in there. Everything looked good. Like, okay, cool. Like Miami's going to be better than Miami's been. They have a name brand quarterback, who can come in day one and, pretty much all college football fans be, oh yeah, Derek King. He was at, I know him from somewhere at least, if not, more familiar with him and everything, improve all of that and be like, oh, cool. So Clemson is still really good. Miami is always a draw. They're going to be better, hopefully, with Derek King. I think we should put them together. That's a great television show for us. And so, yeah, that's where that comes from. And this 2022 was always in the rotation for home and away, games against Clemson in just the normal rotation of ACC play. So, the 2020 game was the additional one that was just thrown on there basically as a TV show that did, pretty well for the ACC.
Cam Underwood, State of the U. Cam is back. Great to see him. Great to have him here. just in time for the season as the Canes get off to the start we all expected. 70 on the board against Bethune-Cookman, and a noon start, I believe, this week for Southern Miss. And that sounds like an ACC network game, if I was guessing.
You are correct, sir. ACC network at noon. So kegs and eggs, kind of a tailgate. If you are looking for something different to bring to your tailgate, our guy Kappa Kane wrote, Fat Boy Eats hashtag. Great cook. Also a great photographer. So the pictures he takes of his food are incredible. I have eaten his food a couple of times and a couple of things. The taste lines up with the visual. Go and search on State of the U. There is a piece, and I'm going to put it back, up on the front page. But he came up with a recipe for Hawaiian roll sliders for a morning tailgate. And I mean, we have one second game. For me, the thing I would add is like a fried or poached egg on there, because it was just like the Canadian bacon or ham or whatever, pineapple. It's Hawaiian roll French toast sliders, excuse me. Which, I mean, they look incredible, but for the breakfast kind of time, just fry an egg and put that on. I think that would take it a really great recipe, which you should look at and try. It'll take it even to the next level as a breakfast kind of a sandwich. So that's what I would do. Hopefully, if he comes down in time, he'll whip up some of those for the crew and everything. But look at that, and send me all your pictures or whatever else you have at your morning keg and egg tailgate. It should be a good time, and we'll be in the stadium by the time it gets super duper hot, and hopefully get off to a nice quick start and a nice easy victory.
That initially seems like too exotic of a recipe for me to take on, but when I think about it, I think I can handle that.
And not hard, a little milk, some eggs, you whip it up, put in some vanilla extract, cinnamon, probably a couple other flavors. This is me going off my head, because making French toast, you always start with the custard, dip the things in there, you fry those up, fry the ham, take pineapple slices, you can get them fresh or do the canned, do that, spice it up a little bit. If you want to make it more savory, add some maybe spiced syrup in there, put some hot sauce with some maple syrup. If you want to go sweet, maybe sprinkle some confectioner's sugar on top. Like I said, for me, myself personally, get a nice medium fried egg, put that on there as well. Zip zap zoom, you're in business. So but if you want the full recipe and the visuals and everything, it's up on stateoftheu.com. And you got plenty of time. It's only Wednesday night, so you can get your supplies already. It's not really even a budget breaker. I make this very indulgent 8-cheese mac and cheese for Thanksgiving and Christmas. That is expensive. You're gonna lay out a little bit of money to make something like that because all the dairy costs so much. But this recipe is not that bad, and it's something new and different. You could probably try. So you can try that out, and it's really not that hard. Trust me.
Cam, DJ Ivy is getting abused in the chat. It's coming from all directions, so I'm guessing it's justified.
DJ Ivy, one of the hardest routes to cover is the slant, and he, if your heels are at 6, you take 2 bail steps, the guy, has a slant that starts at, you take 2 steps and slant, completion, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? So those I don't necessarily hold against him. What I do hold against him, 1, are a couple bad angles in pursuit, and 2, oh boy, it was grasping at ghosts trying to tackle for DJ Ivy in a couple plays. It was really not where it needed to be. But he also made a couple good plays. But if we keep seeing the issues with tackling and angles, I know he's a workout warrior. I know he is built perfectly to be a lockdown cornerback. But to get down Entertainment Studios' point, look, man, it's been 5 years. Eventually, it's going to have to go to somebody else. Ken Son Boy Monestine, what's going on, kid? Good to see you, fam. One of my former students from Miramar, right there. Drum major. I forget. Saxophone? I think he played saxophone. He was drum major in the band. Took my AP Music Theory class. Yeah, good kid. Real good kid, man.
All right, folks. We're here doing this as we typically do on a Wednesday night with Cam Underwood from State of the U. And Cam breaks down Miami football unlike anybody else. We are happy and always appreciative to have him here. Hope you are as well. Canes take on Southern Miss noon, Hard Rock Stadium or the ACC Network.
Yeah, man,
And
get
then,
up to the
of
stadium.
course,
Look, it's there were definitely more people. I know that the attendance numbers, it was, in the mid-low 50,000, 52, 53, give or take. That backs up my experience in getting into the stadium because it took longer to get into the parking lot, leaving at the same time I always leave, than it ever had. So even by the time that I got in, like they do directional parking. So in orange, you park to the front and all the way to the back before they open the next row. Usually there's maybe half to three quarters of, they actually open up two rows because you have two streams of cars coming in. So it's half to 2/3 full. Man, they were already on rows like 7 and 8. Like by the time that I got there, it was a party. So, hopefully we'll continue to see that. We do have some other decent sized games, including November 5th against Florida State, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, you guys should continue to come out. Hey, look, it's going to be an early game. You still have the rest of your day. Go take a nap, go out to the beach, go to the club. If you're a club person, hey, it's still Miami Spice, so you can go to, gourmet restaurants in Miami-Dade, for reasonable prices. So you have that. So, hey, you can go home, shower, change, take your significant other or just a group of friends and go experience a new cuisine or something like that. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do and fold in, hopefully lead with the Miami Hurricanes being part of your day. So yeah, come on down, man. We'll be out there and everything, and go support the Canes as we begin this journey.
Hard Rock Stadium capacity 64,000 plus, correct? That's what I'm looking at here on ESPN. Yep. 56,795 was the attendance.
I think it was paid. It was less than that, I want to say. It just and also you're going to have people who are going to vacate their seats because in the sun on that visitor sideline, it is high. And it was funny because you saw as the sun moved, people would then come back to their seat. Oh, I can go sit now because we're under the shaded part of the top. So and Christmas again, 50,000 for Bethune is a pretty big turnout for Miami, and that's absent Bethune band because there was a battle of the bands on campus in Coral Gables at the Watsco Center because FAMU and Jackson State were also in town because they played the next day. You bring in, basically all your high-stepping high schools as well. They're going to go down there. And then Bethune was like, cool, we're going to do this, play halftime, and then bounce and go to that event. So we didn't even really get to see, them queue up anything in the stands. There was no fifth quarter where they're just staying in the stands and playing after the game from the Bethune band. We were kind of robbed of that experience. So, 50,000 or more than 50,000 is great, for this, and hopefully it keeps going.
Yeah. If somebody would have asked me what the attendance would have been for Bethune-Cookman based on what I've seen, I'm thinking Virginia last year on a Thursday night. How many people were there? It seemed like there were like 18 or 20,000 people there. I might be exaggerating the lack of attendance, but
it was like maybe 30 or 33, something like that. Yeah, okay. It wasn't a lot.
So that's why I'm surprised by the 56K.
I mean, exactly, but new renewed passion and energy for the program. Hope springs eternal, especially when you have the kind of changes that we've seen from the top down, even with athletic administration. With Dan Radakovich coming back to the U and everything like that. So, it's a great time, man. So come on out and watch the U.
Catalyst 99, we will answer your question, but I would prompt you to go to the passing of Howard Schnellenberger, whatever the date was, and look up the show that we did that week because you're going to see our thoughts and hear our thoughts in earnest from myself and even more so from Cam. So the great Howard Schnellenberger. I will just state before, unless Cam just wants to take it away. I didn't know how long you'd be gone.
No, never blow my nose.
Let us know your thoughts and answer this question. Can you guys go over why Howard Schnellenberger was such a good coach?
Yeah. A lot of reasons. I mean, he had this great energy, first of all, and a focus on excellence and a plan to get Miami there, because Miami, when he took over, was an also ran. Like, the Miami that we all know and love, the 5-time, 6-time, because, we got robbed, national championship program, that happened very quickly, after years and years and years of being bad. Now, just a quick history lesson. The University of Miami was founded in 1925. So there were legacy teams and programs, Michigan, O State, Notre Dame, even, back in the day, Army, USC. There's all kinds of programs that have been playing for many, many years before the university was even founded. And the program closed for a little bit. It came back. And I mean, it was just kind of average. And then you get Howard Schnellenberger, and he said, look, we're going to win the national championship in 4 years. Sorry, excuse me. And you get there, and he said, I mean, didn't just say it. He had a plan to make it happen. And it started with recruiting and that whole state of Miami. So basically, if you draw, and he was on the undefeated 72 Dolphins staff. Hello, somebody. So, you talk about that. So credentials. So basically, if you go to Tampa and you draw a line across the state, across I-4, through Orlando, all the way to the East Coast, and on down, Schnellenberger said the best players in that entire area are ours, and we're going to get all of them. We're going to put all of them on the field together, and we're going to dominate. And I'm going to go wherever I need to get quarterbacks to play to bring us there. And that's where you get Bernie Kosar. That's where you get, Vinny Testaverde. That's where you get all these guys coming down, and just transformed this program pretty entirely, from mindset, from how we played, who we played, what, just going with the branding of the U instead of, M for Miami, because, U of M, like where I come from, that's Michigan. People I know, from Minnesota, that's Minnesota, wherever else. Said, yeah, everybody, wants to lean into the M. We're going to lean into that U, the U logo that, what I'm saying? Like that, that U logo, that one, and yeah, he just set about the work and accomplished it. And he was just this dynamic personality. And he just accomplished it really, really well. He had a clear plan, worked that plan. And obviously that started, Miami getting on the scene, because when we won our first national championship, Miami was nobody, that wasn't, an analogous program now who can make that kind of a leap. It's almost like if UTSA just said every single high school player from Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio is coming to UTSA, and we're going to kick everybody's ass, and we don't care what you say about it. And I know you're probably sitting there on the other side of the screen, wherever you're watching this or listening to this, saying, Cam, that's ridiculous. That's what it was for the University of Miami, this little itty bitty private school with 8,000 undergrads at the time, to go and be the national champions in the world of college football with the state. I mean, playing don't even have their own stadium, and playing the Orange Bowl, which, is hosted, or which, when it was standing, hosted Super Bowls and incredible games and an undefeated, Miami Dolphins team and things like that. Cool. So we're going to go over there and we're going to do that. And, this is not, at the time, when I was growing up, 93,000 people at the University of Michigan Stadium. This is not 110,000 people playing at the Orange Bowl. I'm sorry, at the Rose Bowl or whatnot. This little itty bitty school out the middle of nowhere. Well, I mean, in Miami, but comes from nowhere, off the radar entirely, and just takes the college football world by storm. And all of that was the vision and infrastructure and work from Howard Schnellenberger and his wonderful mind and his singular ability to make those things that he thought become real. And there's so much more to it than that. Even I know that our former manager, 2 editors ago on State of the U, he actually had a one-on-one interview with Howard Schnellenberger, which is still up on the website from probably about 10, 11 years ago. So I would say go look that up. And also, if you're asking, that means you're probably a little bit younger or newer to the fan base, and that's okay. That's all right. I'm newish, compared to lots of people who have been rooting for Miami their entire lives. I grew up in Michigan. I rooted for the University of Michigan until I came down to college at Miami, and then I switched my allegiance, and I bleed orange and green because I'm a Hurricane, right? I would say Cane Mutiny, the book by Bruce Feldman, go read it because that's a huge, Howard Schnellenberger is a major character in that book because of who he is or was and what he did. And also I would say go through the ESPN 30 for 30s, starting, with the U. Obviously part one is more Howard Schnellenberger in there, but that was the birth, the genesis, the creation of this program being a national championship program. And that will give you even more than what I've kind of rambled to give you. But now Howard Schnellenberger was an incredible coach. I still think it is an absolute travesty that he is not in the College Football Hall of Fame to this day. A really great question, a really great coach. Hopefully I've shed some light on that for you. Hopefully I've given you some things to watch or read even more. But a really, really great coach and really transformed the world of college football because, the way that teams recruit, where they come, all these teams coming from all over down here to South Florida in the way that they do, nobody did, and back when, Miami was rough, he's going into Overtown. He's going into Liberty City. He's going into the hood. And Howard Schnellenberger, he looks like Colonel Sanders, and that low gravelly voice. And I'm going to leave my pipe on the corner of the couch there, so you remember that it was Howard Schnellenberger who came to recruit your son. But dudes like that, they didn't go to Liberty City. Dudes like that, they didn't go to Overtown. Wherever you're from, like the Cass Corridor over in Detroit, there, if you're talking about Cabrini Green in Chicago, where, my family lived way back in the day, there were some places where like an old white dude, he's not going for whatever reason. And he said, well, that's where the players live, and that's where I'm going to go, and they're not going to keep me out of there. And you talk, and you hear the players talk, they're like, Coach was good. He was good. He had a hood pass. Like, if you see him driving in and everything, and you think, the hood boy's gonna get you the drug dealer. Nah, that's Coach Schnellenberger. He good. He's gonna take somebody from where we are to the University of Miami and elevate them because guys are going to the league and they're moving moms out of the projects into these things. So that guy right there, he's good with me. It's just, and so many other teams then said, well, if Miami's getting all these guys from Miami, and we have coaches from Miami, and we can put in our recruiting budgets to go down to South Florida and go down to these places and try to get some of this rich, fertile talent that they're hoarding, then that changes the balance of everything, and in so many ways, large and small. He was a revolutionary, not only for the University of Miami, but for just the landscape of college football as we currently see it. So a wonderful man, and I know that's not the most eloquent statement or soliloquy I've ever gone on about anybody, but really just hold Howard Schnellenberger in the highest esteem, and I hope that you learn something and look into even more to just grow your knowledge base about that.
It is a travesty that he's not in the College Football Hall of Fame. It's just hopefully somebody with sense and football knowledge will go in there, just not on his behalf, but I know there have been a few other examples that have crossed my path of just no context given to these ridiculous rules that are fine to have guidelines, but to have these dead set black and white rules that just are given no context is ridiculous. So I was curious because I knew where Jim Kelly and Bernie Kosar hailed from. So between Kosar, Kelly, and Testaverde, the first three great quarterbacks in the dynasty era, all hailed from, you've got Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York.
Yep.
I always wondered in the 80s why Bernie Kosar was not playing at Ohio State. I just was like, well, what happened here? And don't know that I ever got that answer, but
yeah, me either. Maybe it's a Dan Marino Penn State thing. They wanted him at linebacker because he's a massive, massive dude. He was like,
yeah, he wasn't the most athletic guy in the world.
Wasn't the most athletic, but hey, could throw the hell out of a ball.
Sure.
But yeah, and that's why he went to Pittsburgh instead, because they were like, he was like, no, I'm not.
I was talking about Kosar, not the most athletic guy in the world.
Oh, well, yeah. But
even more so. All right, folks. Appreciate you being here and making on back next Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern time. You know what you do? You bring a friend, you bring two, you bring 50. Why not have as many people in here as possible? So just don't lock down on the content yourself. Again, we're here with Cam each and every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. And we'll be back to talk the Southern Miss game and look forward to a gigantic one the next week against the Aggies of Texas A&M. Wow. All right, Cam, great to see you. You know that. Appreciate it so much. Thank you. And certainly the stage is yours to send us home if there's anything at State of the U that you want folks to know about.
Yeah, man. So, again, thank you, first of all, honestly and truly, for everyone who sent a thought, a positive thought or a prayer my way. I really, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate it. Honestly and truly. And so many people emailed me and texted me and called me and just reached out to me in whatever way. And if you didn't reach out to me, you still sent one up on my behalf. Honestly and truly, thank you. On top of that, for State of the U, we're always putting stuff out. So we have the Fat Boy Eats. We have your weekly ACC rooting guide. We also have the Canes fans watch guide to the entire weekend, which does start on Thursdays. And all your normal game and, commentary stuff. The Good, Bad, the Ugly was back this week. There was no bad because I said if it's bad against Bethune, I'm putting it all in the ugly. Apparently somebody missed that on the comment section. But hey, that happens. It's okay. It was preseason or first game for them back, commenting and reading and everything. So we have that. Also this year, I am blogging through the ACC SEC Pick'em League that I've been in for 12 years. So I have to do my picks this evening and cultivate that piece. So that is a thing where you can read about my performance, Tyler, the commissioner, and others as well, and see who's doing what in that. So you can follow along and also make your own picks. Picks in that league are straight up winners. That's it. No lines, boom, boom. Who's going to win this game? So I'm blogging through that this year as well and got a couple other things coming up for you. So, we're open 24/7, 365. Even when I wasn't talking, I was still blogging. So we're over there at stateoftheu.com, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the State of the U. I'm on Twitter for my personal stuff at Underwood Sports. And we will see you guys again soon. Thank you so much.
I won't cut loose on my soliloquy on why picking the game straight up, just the winner of the game, is actually a more valid selection than it is against the spread. But people like their money and want to be able to beat Vegas. So I get it. But actually picking the game straight up and beating your buddies on winning percentage there is actually a more valid selection than against the spread. All right, everyone. Next Wednesday, 7 o'clock Eastern time, back here with Cam, and bring some friends with you here at the Voice of College Football.